You know what day it is. You know what time. It's time for your hard talks with a blonde and a hippie. I'm your trippy hippie Alicia, jumping on the mic from good old Utah with my co-host Sarah.
The blonde.
The blonde.
Hey.
And our amazing guests are back, Serina and Logan from last week.
Hello.
Hello there, people.
I'm ready to learn about some drugs.
I love it. I am too. I've done a lot of research about
I'm so proud of you.
all
These
the drugs.
papers, this is like a 12-page long deal, guys.
Yes, this is why we had to do 2 parts, because I couldn't condense less than an hour just about LSD. You know what I mean?
I know nothing.
It's so complex. It's so hard to
It's one of the
do
most
that.
predominant in our culture.
Yeah, for real. So all that being said, this episode again is 21 and up because we are talking about psychedelics.
Illegal.
We do
Drugs.
curse like sailors.
Drugs.
What?
Have you guys seen that TikTok?
No.
A lot of times people will put it with videos of cats, but it's all drugs, and someone's like, "No, thank you, I'm okay." Drugs. No, I don't want any drugs.
I don't even know what to say.
Someone's gonna hear this and know exactly what the fuck I'm talking
TikTok
about.
is life.
Yeah, well, all that being said and summed up into a nutshell,
Welcome.
21 and up, listen on your own time.
Put your headphones in.
We made it to episode 6. If you haven't learned already, we don't want to be responsible for your 3-year-old saying fuck or goddamn. So, claps. Let's just jump into it, guys. Episode 6.
We're here.
Part 2 of Psychedelics.
You guys are killing it, guys.
Pumping them out
Yeah.
quick. Good
We
shit.
Thank you.
decent following all over the United States
You
already.
guys picked up some
U.S.
steam.
How about the freaking world?
There's a little mind blown that we
She's
have
not
listeners
wrong, though.
in Melbourne, Australia.
Guys, it is
That's
like my
cool.
dream
Oh, that's fucking
to
sick,
go
dude.
to Australia.
That's how I feel when I see my mixes played, because my mixes are played all over the world,
Like,
too. So it's
63
like...
countries.
And
Like,
shameless
Yeah.
plug,
Freaking killer.
Both of our guests, Serina and Logan, are DJs and producers local to lovely Utah.
Power couple.
Crystal, you
Yes.
can find her at CRYZTL.
Yep.
On Facebook and Instagram
And
Stuff.
SoundCloud.
and SoundCloud, and a werewolf, right?
whoop,
Where
yep.
can you find you, Logan?
They can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and SoundCloud at a werewolf. That's all capital with a 3 instead of an E.
Yes, and if you like
Going to follow
EDM
now.
and house,
I do a lot of heavy stuff, but I also do house.
yes,
Drum and bass, a little bit of everything.
yes,
Mhm.
I highly recommend
Thank you.
looking these guys up.
Thank you so much.
They're very
Appreciate
talented.
Will do.
Sarah, what are you drinking tonight?
So, in honor of my cute little hippie, I am drinking hippie juice.
I am honored.
You should be, because I love you so much.
I don't know why. I literally crossed myself.
You
for
got
so-
bless.
Thank you,
Amen.
Jesus.
So honored you had to freaking throw that in there. But I mean, it's fine.
I feel your love and awkwardness from across this table.
Definitely awkwardness. Just got weird.
I'm sorry, but that was annoying.
No, it's the cutest. Own up to that laugh, bitch.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I
You're right.
Own
You're
up.
right.
Quote unquote Meredith Grey laugh, which I
She sounds
Still
like
don't
Meredith Grey.
understand.
If you watch Grey's Anatomy, the way that Alicia laughs, pay attention next time. I promise you. Once it clicked, and it clicked in my head when I was tripping dick.
yeah,
I will say
way
that.
back when.
Yep. But it clicked, and it's never gone away since. You're welcome.
I don't understand it, but yes. Anyway,
How do you make hippie juice?
Okay,
I
so
want this.
it's really good. It's
Yeah, why don't you make it for everybody?
I'm sorry, you guys have your own goddamn drinks. Next time I'll make a picture. Shit, my bad.
I
Whatever.
want one next time.
Yes.
All right, next time.
So it's 1 ounce coconut Malibu. Whoa, that was weird. Malibu coconut rum. Same
I love
thing.
coconut rum.
That is like the best. Like if you do not like
dank.
alcohol,
But
you
anybody
have
can
to try
drink that.
coconut Oh my god, Malibu. Just Malibu. It hurts. Like you'll be sitting there drinking it, and you have like 5, and all of a sudden you're
creeps.
just like,
I'm fucked
Oh,
up.
no.
Oh my god.
Oh,
no.
Where did I just go?
Oh,
yeah.
no,
Damn.
no, no.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. And then you can also do strawberry or watermelon vodka. I chose strawberry. So like that's 1 ounce. 2 ounces of Country Time pink lemonade. 2 ounces triple sec. I feel like that's like a staple in almost every single drink you drink.
Yeah.
Like triple sec is like
Yeah,
you have to
it's
have
used
that
a
in your alcohol
lot.
cabinet. We actually just got that because I'm like, let's make a drink, but we don't have triple sec, so what the hell? And then
It's too much work for me. I'm like a
good.
3-step kind of drink.
well, I mean, like make a picture of this and you're good to go for the rest of the night.
Okay,
right?
so you can make it in big quantities.
Yeah. So I mean, like this is just like for 1 glass. I mean, like you can, I don't have like the pour system. I'm like, this looks good. This sounds good. Let's put some like,
I'm the same. I'm very
Yes.
sloppy bartender.
right? That's like the best bartender. And then it also has 2 ounces pineapple juice. And then we
There
have
it is.
raspberry syrup, optional. I had to get that out there real fast.
Woo!
Damn.
That sounds good.
It's really good.
Good.
Yeah. What are you drinking, Alicia?
Serena made my drink this
Ooh,
evening.
it's cute.
Yeah.
Very
in
cute.
honor of,
25th being closed for one.
yeah.
Or it's, what is that bar on 25th? That everybody.
Alleged. Fuck alleged.
That's what I think of
So-
when I think of these drinks, but I do
Shootings.
drink them at shows.
What the hell?
Vibes. Oh, I brought that up.
AMFs because
Oh,
of
because AMFs.
alleged AMFs because AMF stands for adios motherfucker.
Adios,
Um,
motherfucker.
So
Ugh.
half ounce of vodka, half ounce of rum, half ounce of tequila, half ounce of gin, and a half ounce of blue curacao.
Shrot.
Ciroc? What? That's not
He just
Ciroc.
knows everything.
It's
Like,
not
Is
Ciroc
that-
though.
Is that not?
That's
I think it's- I'm pretty sure
Curacao.
it's one of those
Ciroc
words.
is Ciroc. I know how to
No,
spell
it's with a
Ciroc.
Q at the end. It's like QU.
No.
Okay, well,
Somebody
So-
comment.
Anyways,
Anyways,
me.
yeah, correct.
Anyways,
Caraco?
and then 2 ounces of sweet and sour mix with either Sprite or 7-Up.
And
to
that's
top.
exactly why Serena made my drink tonight. But in honor of our festival and
Yes.
festivals and
God.
R.I.P.
Damn, son.
to my sanity.
Yes,
it
because that's a
left
really
with
common
music
drink that they
festivals.
sell at the bar at
It's
raves
just
and
easy.
stuff.
There's so much alcohol in
It's
it.
not
You
that
need
easy.
1, maybe 2, and you're fucking chilling. But not if you're Alicia.
It's good though. It's really. Can you hear my eyes jingling? It's hippie approved, bitches.
I even put it in the Pink Floyd glass for her.
It is super
In
cute.
In
this
honor
episode.
of drugs.
Yes.
Drugs.
So guys,
some
I'm gonna
drugs.
get into the meat of everything.
Let's do it.
Okay.
do it.
Cut. Let me get my knife and fork.
Yes, please do. Why don't you dial up Haven? Hello.
Hello, human.
So Haven, hi. How are you feeling?
Sore?
Yeah, man, you've had a intense couple of weeks, and I'm sorry to hear about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so last week, and we did talk about LSD. I'm going to touch on a couple of things about DMT, and then I would really like to hear about your experiences, if you have any with either, which I know you do. And what got you into it, what interested you, and what was your best trip, and what was kind of a, not necessarily a great trip, but one that was
reality
revolutionizing,
check.
you know,
An ego
revolutionizing.
death? You want to hear about an ego death?
Yes, I do, but first.
Let me jump into this for those who don't know what DMT is, because a lot of our listeners don't.
Me being one.
Sarah being one. DMT stands for N,N-dimethyltryptamine. DMT has been used in South America since pre-Columbian times. DMT was first synthesized in 1931 by chemist Richard Helmuth Frederick Mansky. Tryptamine is a monoamine alkaloid found in plants, fungi, and animals. There are many tryptamine alkaloids active in our bodies. For example, the neurotransmitter serotonin is a tryptamine, also known as the 5-hydroxytryptamine. Serotonin is responsible for the regulation of mood, appetite, sleep, memory, and learning. If you look at DMT and the serotonin molecules like we discussed last episode,
Right.
they are almost identical. So, for Sarah,
Yes.
we naturally produce that serotonin in our brains, and we also naturally produce DMT, and it's said to come from our pineal glands.
Yeah.
Dr. Rick Strassman, who I learned a lot from researching all this stuff. Believes that DMT is released while we dream, and even in larger amounts during traumatic events such as birth and death. So I think that could be like an example of why a lot of people see a white light, at the end of life. DMT is produced in thousands of varying plants, like Sarah's fun facts from last episode, and in some mammals, such as the Colorado river toad. Normally, DMT is not orally active, but when mixed with another plant containing a monoamine oxidase inhibitor, DMT becomes orally active and produces powerful psychedelic states, which we will touch on, Haven. When converted into free-base form, DMT can be vaporized or smoked to create the most intense experience a human can undergo. Do you guys agree with that statement?
Shit's wild.
Yes, from experiences that I've heard, for sure. I've done DMT 3 times, and they call it blasting off. I almost blasted off 1 time, but this dude who was kind enough to just let me have some DMT wouldn't shut the fuck up when I was trying to enjoy my music and blast the fuck off and experience some shit. Like
you did it at
the show? Hear it. No, I was at my old house. He was just one of my roommates' mutuals that happened to have it. And the first time I ever actually did it was with one of our mutual friends within the Ray fam. Do you remember Austin's old apartment where my titty used to live? My cat.
I was like, which one?
I forget.
Take that shit off and bring it back in.
But yeah, and I definitely felt something, which we'll get into, but I've never had the experience of blasting off. I'm sure Haven has.
Yeah. I'm glad you touched on that, though, because if anywhere from 20 to 60 milligrams is inhaled within a minute's time frame, some people experience exactly what you called blast off.
Yep.
Subjects claim to visit alternate dimensions with geometry and laws that cannot be explained via modern language. Or we try to describe it through sacred geometry.
Right.
Yeah. Some people say they have contact with foreign beings, like aliens. Our friend Brody had a intense...
That was on acid, dude. That was on acid that he experienced that, which I can tell that story... For sure, because I was one of the first. I was supposed to pick him up that night.
Yeah. So, that's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Other people have extremely moving religious and spiritual experiences, not limited to complete unity or a connection with all living and non-living organisms in existence. That feeling of connectivity.
That relays over to LSD too, but DMT is much more profound,
yes.
I think, and more intense.
The duration only lasts 5 to 15 minutes, actually, but it messes with your perception of time, so it may feel like much, much longer. It is said to be the most powerful psychedelic known to man.
Bam!
Yes. And since it is naturally produced in our body, it was coined the name, you named it, last time, the spirit molecule.
Hey!
And you know what? Joe Rogan talks about DMT a few times in his podcast.
Right.
I love Joe Rogan.
Shameless
big
plug.
same.
Shameless
Big
plug.
same.
I love you, Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan said it best. When you experience a blast off and come back to reality, it's kind of like a computer resetting or rebooting. You reboot and everything dissolves into a file that you've already known your whole life, or you can tap into a whole new file that's downloaded up to your desktop and be like,
new information.
yeah, let me tap into this one instead and just branch off. And
New folder.
I totally that was
Reset.
a great analogy.
Ooh,
for
Windows
me,
2021.
for sure.
Right?
So that being said, Haven, now that we've learned and educated our listeners a little bit about DMT, what was your most profound experience in trying it?
On DMT?
On DMT.
So I did it 3 times. The first 2 times I didn't get enough to blast off. The first 2 times it was very similar. We smoked it in a joint. The first time I actually did it was with Corey and Taylor.
That was my first time too. I didn't want to say their names just in case, but that was me too.
Yeah. But
Original
we were still in the basement,
Yep.
and I didn't get enough to blast off. But I took a hit of the joint, and everything started feeling fuzzy, kind of like they come up on shrooms a little bit. And then took the second hit, and the like patterns on my walls looked like circles, and they started spinning a little bit, and things in my room started growing and shrinking. And that's about as intense as it got, and it lasted like 10, 15 minutes, and then I just felt stoned because it was with the joint. The third time, though, I was hiking with a couple of friends. We got to the top of the mountain, sat there, and he had like a water bottle and then some steel wool on the end of the water bottle. Just sprinkled a shit ton in there, and I took the first hit, basically the same thing as the last experience I told you about. And took a second hit and got more intense, and I took the third hit. The third hit, I took a big fucking hit, as big as I possibly could, and held it in there. And as I held it in, I heard like, you ever heard binaural beats?
Yes.
Where it's like, wah, 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 wah. It did that, and it just got louder and louder, just whoa, 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 whoa. And as the sound got louder, I felt this like pressure going up my spine and into the base of my skull. And felt that pressure just intensify as the ringing got louder and louder and louder until it felt like my head was literally going to fucking pop like a balloon. And
Wow.
after what felt like fucking hours of it doing that, finally everything just released, and I just remember flying, just fucking soaring through space with all these colors and these shapes everywhere, and so much inexplainable feelings. And it was probably the scariest experience I've ever had in my life, but also one of the most beautiful sights I've ever seen. And after the flying kind of subsided, I came into this like almost looked like a giant dome, like a half dome or like a sphere or something, and I just remember seeing these like things floating around, and they looked familiar, but I didn't recognize them, and just all sorts of crazy shapes and colors. And when I stopped flying and got to this dome, it felt like I had literally just gone, just dead. I felt like I had died.
Wow.
And it was so crazy because I felt like I was in there for thousands of years. I felt like I had lived so long, and I didn't make contact with any beings like a lot of people did. I don't remember talking to anybody, but also it was a lot to take in at the time. And after what felt like an eternity, I got sucked back through this tunnel and back into my body. And when I came back, I sat there and looked at all my friends and said, "What the fuck happened?" And they're like, "You kind of curled up in a ball and you started crying." And I was like, "That's not what happened at all. How long was it fucking gone for?" Like, about 10, 15 minutes. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? I've been gone for fucking eons, my guy.
My guy.
Curled up in a ball and cried for 10 minutes? Like, what the fuck are you talking about?
You're like,
And it
this
took
can't
me,
be right.
Oh, dude, it took me weeks to, like, wrap my head around what the fuck happened. It was just insane. It was intense. The most profound experience I've ever had in my entire life.
So would you say having that experience was beneficial to, you know, your mental health and like your life and where you're at today?
I mean, mentality-wise, yes, I could see there was a benefit to it. It kind of was a humbling experience because, like, this is back when, like, it wasn't too long ago, but still it was, like, before my hard stuff happened, I was, like, still invincible teenage. I wasn't a teenager, but, like, that invincible teenage mindset or whatever, and I could just handfuls of acid all the time, and I could do this and do that, and, you know, I can do whatever I wanted, and it kind of showed me that you need to slow your fucking roll down, Chief, because this ain't it.
Slow your roll, Chief.
This is why we love Haven.
Oh, we love Haven. So, Haven, let me ask you something.
Why'd you want to try DMT?
At the beginning, it was literally just to get high and have fun with the friends and stuff until I met mushrooms. And then mushrooms kind of showed me, like, hey, this isn't all party. This is, like, something you should, you know, do some self-reflection on.
So tell me a little bit about your ego death or your rebirth.
So that was I think it was my last mushroom trip. I haven't done psychedelics in over 2 years, mainly just because of my heart condition. But
Right.
my
And that's
ego
very
death,
important too for our listeners. Like in the initial first episode, we said, you know, I feel like everyone could benefit from tripping, but that's something huge to consider. Your mental state, like Logan discussed in the first episode, and your health conditions. So if you are thinking about doing this for the first time, as I said, it's so important to do your research and know who you're getting it from and, like, do it in a safe space. And
Test
not in
before
that
you
space.
ingest.
Test before you ingest. And if it's bitter, it's a spitter.
We're getting a whole line of psychedelic druggy t-shirts prepared for all of you.
I would freaking wear them, you guys.
She's like, I don't do drugs, but I'll wear them.
But I really want to hear about your rebirth. And was this with DMT or was this with LSD?
This was with mushrooms. My
Oh,
ego death
yes.
was a mushroom trip.
Yes.
So, one thing I've always explained to people is acid's in your head and shrooms is the outer world. You can control what's in your head. You can't control what's on the outer world. Think of acid like you're piloting the spaceship. Think of mushrooms like you're flying through space, you got hit by a comet, and your spaceship's doing whatever, and you've got to just enjoy the ride.
That is the best analogy I've ever heard.
People really think that acid is a lot more unpredictable than mushrooms, and I can tell you from personal experience, I always know what I'm getting out of one tab. But with mushrooms, it is very, like, it matters how much you weigh. It very much matters what you ate that day, how much you've drank, like, how much you are taking based on your body weight and things like that.
And also just the strain of mushroom as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we'll also get into that with the ayahuasca later in the episode as well, because it's really important to have a cleanse before you take it. A lot of shamans or treatment retreat centers recommend that you, like, go on a veganism or a vegetarian diet. So, I mean, anyways, each compound is different, and again, like, doing your research and educating yourself is always good before, leaping into it. So, anyways.
Tell us about your mushroom experience.
Okay, so at this point, like, the point of the ego death, I had done shrooms quite a bit. Like I said, shrooms was the first thing that showed me the spiritual side of psychedelics. And when I tried shrooms, that's when I started really researching these compounds and, like, really trying to figure out and learning what I'm putting into my body and what it's doing to my brain. And I had probably taken 20 plus mushroom trips at this point. I think it was 19 or 20 when I had this ego death. You ever heard of lemon teching? You know what that is?
Nope.
I know what you're talking about, my dude.
Okay, so vitamin C is a really cool compound, and the fact that it reacts with psilocybin and psilocin to enhance the effects on your brain. So that's why a lot of people say drink orange juice or eat oranges when you're on LSD or
it intensifies
mushrooms.
the experience.
Oh yeah, it really, it's like when you eat mangoes before you smoke, how it kind of intensifies the high. So what you do for a lemon tech is you literally get like 3 lemons, you juice them, you put it in a pot, you crush up your mushrooms into a fine powder or dust, and you literally make a tea out of this stuff. And literally, it's like going from a beer to a shot of, what's it called? The, like, really
Everclear?
strong, yeah, that stuff right there. It's like going from a beer to a shot of Everclear.
Holy
like, it
fuck.
literally is
My God.
potent.
It intensifies the shit out of it.
Yeah.
Knocks you on your
Put
ass.
this in perspective. I've taken 7, but so what it was is I've taken 7 grams before and had a great fucking time. Trees were telling me to push them over, like it was a wild night.
That's a lot.
Goddamn
There
trees.
was only 2 grams in this little lemon tech, this little tea I made. 2 grams, okay? They were just normal Cubenzis. There weren't any extravagant strain of mushrooms, and I'd had this same batch from my buddy a couple weeks prior, and they weren't that strong. I took that, and let me tell you, within 15 minutes, I was already starting to feel the effects. Normally, it takes 45 to an hour before you really start feeling the effects.
Did you know you were
15
fucked
minutes.
then?
Oh, I was already getting visuals after 15 minutes.
Oh, fuck. Damn.
So, it started off, I was at my house, I drank the stuff, a buddy of mine was taking 2 tabs of trip with me, we were going to trip together. Took the stuff, it felt normal, I was feeling fine, the come up was kind of intense, I was outside playing on my scooter, riding around until, the body high sucked me down to the ground.
Yep.
Went inside, and I just started sweating. I started sweating really bad, started getting super hot, it felt like my veins were on fire, and I got really nauseous, and I went in the bathroom and puked. And I remember looking into the toilet bowl, and all the bubbles were little eyes looking all around. And I remember looking down and saying, "Holy shit!" And as soon as I said "shit," they all snapped and looked at me like, hit the toilet flush and was like, fuck no. Went back out to my living room, and I was still burning up. I was so hot. So I started ripping off all my clothes to try to cool off and put a chair right in front of the AC vent in my house trying to cool off. And I started breathing weird, so my hands started walking up from lack of oxygen or too much oxygen. I don't know, I was really hot.
I had too much oxygen.
45 minutes into the trip. This is only 45 minutes. My house is stretching and waving and twisting and like just alive. My solid house made of wood was just molding and twisting and
Turned into Monster House.
Literally.
Oh, dude, it was crazy. Yeah, it was wild. So I'm sitting there, and I'm starting to lose consciousness because, I'm not breathing right. And eventually, I pass out. And when I passed out, I remember being in this, almost like the DMT trip. I was in this sphere, and it was like TV static, but the TV static was red with little dots of every single color in the rainbow. And I just remember sitting there thinking, I've died. I'm dead, and I don't know how I feel about this. I'm not okay. And I felt like I was in there for years, and eventually moved on into just this black where I could just hear my thoughts and just nothing. There was no visuals, nothing. I was just in this black space, just talking to myself. And then after what felt like an eternity there, I slowly opened my eyes. My buddy's pacing around me because he's starting to trip on his acid, and he thinks his best friend's dying right fucking there. And after I come out, I'm looking around. He's like, "You're awake?" I'm like, "Yeah, what happened?" He's like, "You passed out, and I thought you died, and I'm starting to trip, and I'm kind of scared." And I was like, "I'm okay.
Oh, no.
I'm okay."
Oh.
Man, let me tell you, when I came out of this space and after I came up, some of the most calming, blissful feelings I've ever had in my entire life, and just the most beautiful, calming, relaxing visuals I've ever seen. And finally, I wasn't hot, but I was freezing my ass off from sweating balls.
Yep.
So I went and wrapped up in a blanket and sat on my couch, and then all of these reflecting thoughts that I wasn't controlling just flooded my brain about what I'm doing wrong and what I should be changing about myself. And it kind of showed me that I've been so caught up in this little world of mine, and that I needed to take a step back and look at a different perspective of my life. And you need to get a handle on school. You need to quit staying home and ditching. You need to quit doing all this shit that's making your life worse, and you need to turn your ass around. And I haven't taken shrooms since then because it was literally the most terrifying experience ever.
It was a reality check.
Oh, yeah, DMT was scary. No, this shit was terrifying.
Mushrooms are not what people think they are. I swear to God, dude. They're not. I've had conversations with people that dabble in psychedelics or that don't know much about them that are like, well, if I ever trip, I want to trip on mushrooms first. And I'm like, dude, believe me, I am experienced. I know plenty of people who are experienced. They will tell you that mushrooms are a different type of thing.
It's a different breed.
An acid sounds scary. LSD, it sounds like, oh, that's more extreme.
And it can be on a super high dose.
For sure. But
I feel like, again, it's very unique to each person.
Definitely.
Because, I know so many people who would rather do mushrooms over LSD.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people's perspective on that is
it's more
come up is more
natural.
predictable.
And
well,
it's
the come
not.
up is more predictable.
And it's not.
But that's what a lot of people say. And again, I think it's just going into it also, it's your state of mind. It's you feel more comfortable with it.
Well,
so
and for
maybe
some
you
people
trip
it
better.
may be, because there are genuinely some people that do better on mushrooms than they do acid and vice versa. But in my experience and most people that I know, mushrooms can be very up and down. Alicia and I have experienced it before. And a lot of people that
I'm getting sober, and then all of a sudden, oh no.
I'm not.
I can't wait to...
I have a story about that. So, there was this one time, I think it was so the first time I took mushrooms, we only took a gram each. I got a body and little visuals and stuff, some tracers, but nothing crazy. This was the first eighth I had ever had, and I was with my buddy Timmy, and we took an eighth, and started off like any shroom trip. We're at my house, and I started getting the giggles, and me and him are laughing our asses off in the bedroom, just laughing at nothing, staring at each other. No visuals, just a body high and giggly all fucking night. And we decided, so this is when I was living in Cedar City, and Cedar is a really small town. You can walk wherever you want.
For sure.
We went out to the backyard, and we're sitting there, and the body had like it's the come up, and we're coming up real fucking quick. And we're sitting on the bench, really rocking back and forth like insane people, laughing our asses off at nothing. And I remember at the point of the breakthrough, I sat up a little bit, and I'm still laughing, and my vision went black and white, literally lost all color, and then out of nowhere, just an explosion of visuals and color and spirals, and like just literally took me back, and it happened at the same time. Like literally, I swear to God, me and him were having the exact same trip and the exact same. It was weird. We were like,
I've had that before.
But like, we like kind of opened our eyes and looked at each other like, what the fuck is going on right now? We decided. I texted my buddy. I was like, hey, we're coming over to your house right now, and he kind of called me. He's like, it's 3 a.m. What are you doing? I was like, we're walking down Burger Alley, and we're kind of fucked up on shrooms right now. And he's like, you're walking? I'm like, yeah, no, it's fine. Nobody's gonna stop us. And then he fucking hauls us down there, comes and swoops us in his car. I'm sitting in the back seat, still laughing my ass off, just amazed at what my fucking brain is seeing and coming up with. It was just wild. Made it to his house, and he had, like, they're big psychonauts, so his whole house is just trippy as hell, so I was in the right fucking place. We had this, it felt like maybe like 30, 45 minutes, I don't know, time isn't a thing on these things.
Yep.
And it felt like we were just at a constant high, just not going up or down, and then I went outside, this is back when I was smoking cigarettes, to go smoke a cigarette. I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, it was literally like my soul just dropped back into my body, and I was completely sober. And I'm like,
What the fuck?
what the hell?
That's how our friend Paige is.
Yep.
She
It
has
was
the
so
craziest
weird.
tolerance with that shit.
Well, this is where it gets crazy, because I was like, this is really disappointing. And I'm looking at my buddy, he's like, you okay? I was like, I'm sober. And he's
I'm
like,
sober.
how much did you
God
take?
damn
I was like, 3.5 grams, my guy. He's like, you should not be feeling sober. And we're sitting there talking. It was maybe like 3 minutes of just complete, like, I felt like I had not done anything. Out of nowhere, it started ramping back up. And it ramped up real fucking quick. I was on another come up, but with full visuals.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned that, because psychedelics work in waves. It doesn't matter which one you're doing, except maybe DMT, because it is such a quick
Shorter,
process
yeah.
if you're able to blast.
Well, and
blast off
even
everything.
acid, it's a pretty steady come up, and then you're
Yeah.
peaking for a bit,
And then
you wave, and then you
So
go down.
You'll have periods
Yeah.
of clarity where you touch back to reality and it's like, oh man,
Moments of clarity are amazing on
thank
acid.
you. Let me breathe for a
I
second.
need water. I need to sit down
And
and
then-
stop pacing for a
Yeah,
minute. Like,
I need to stop clenching my jaw.
Yeah.
And then you turn to your friends and it's like, oh, okay, I think I'm on the downhill of it all. And,
And
it's
then-
like, just kidding. Let's go into my garage and worship bubbles. Like there's some kind of religion.
Bubbles are magic. I don't care what anybody says. If you ever trip on anything, get you some bubbles and play with them, because they are beautiful little beings. They have their own.
Wand.
Get the wands.
The big tubey wandy ones. So the last time I tripped,
It was many years ago now, but it was so high.
that I was laying on the nasty garage floor with my head on the steps. So I'm like literally not even flat. I look like a dismembered mannequin.
The most
You're, like,
uncomfortable
punched in
position.
half.
It's
fine.
Well, I was literally just like sprawled out on the dirty, oily garage floor,
So
and my head was
gross.
up on this concrete step, and I was peeking so hard I had to lay down because I was feeling nauseous. And also, mind you, typically if you are able to throw up on psychedelics, that just makes the more like the experience that much more intense.
Oh, dude, you get high when you puke. You get
Yeah.
real
it's
high when you
weird.
puke.
Yeah.
It's weird.
You do. It's like you can.
I
see
heard that it was something to do with, and I learned about this more so because of alcohol, but like because you're absorbing the alcohol through your stomach once it hits, like how if you start jumping around when you have a belly full of alcohol, you'll get more drunk. It's the, like,
I've never heard that in my
I don't know if this
life.
is, to be
No.
fair, I don't know if this is accurate. I read about it years ago, but I
Google
almost
that.
wonder if, when you throw up because everything's jumbling
Is
around in
jumping
your belly, it's
with a
like
belly full of
absorbing in other
alcohol of
spots.
something?
I want to know.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But I mean, literally, like, I was laying on the floor in the garage and I was like, you guys, I'm a puddle, jump in me. And then I found all of my son's bubbles.
It
And
was a grand old time.
we're in the garage and it was like you could manipulate these bubbles with the wand. And
It was legit witchcraft, man.
I remember standing in front of Serina after, you know, the room and the seams of the wall were bursting with visuals as well. You know, I'm like, Serina, this is God. Like, this is everything right here. Like, these bubbles are everything.
Well,
We're onto something.
It's the thing with acid and a lot of psychedelics, it brings
Highly
out that
recommend.
inner child that we all have tucked deep away because of growing up in society and all that stuff. And it really, like, it brings back that sense of wonder and awe at
For
little
sure.
simple
For the
things,
smallest things.
like
For sure.
bubbles.
I mean, it's true. Everything, and that's what I mean by it brings you back to some child's like state of mind. It was so good for
It's
my
so
mental
good for
health.
your soul.
It's a
and
trippy
your-
hippie.
I'm a trippy hippie. But you know what, Haven? Can I ask you one last question before we let you go?
What?
What is your biggest recommendation to someone who's wanting to trip for the first time on LSD or DMT?
Mindset, set, and setting. Those
Yeah.
are the three most important things. So,
Knowing everything that you've gone through and experienced, that's
Yeah.
what you'd say.
so make sure your mindset is good. You don't have any big stressors going on, because if you have something going on, say you just got over a big breakup, somebody in your family just died, you're stressed about money or something, when you trip, there's going to be nothing to block those thoughts out. And if they come in to your
Walls.
head, you're going to go in what we call the downward spiral, where you just keep going down in these thoughts and you keep making yourself more depressed and sad. And if a good trip can turn into a really bad trip just by a single thought passing through your head.
So quickly.
You're set. Make sure you're somewhere where you're comfortable and you feel safe. Don't go to some random dude's house that you've never met before and take some acid and sit there all night with people you don't know.
Yeah, and I would not recommend, as much as we love raving and going to festivals, I would not recommend tripping on acid for the first time at a show.
Unless you are well versed, do not take psychedelics at a show.
Yeah, so
Yes.
about that, I was very experienced with acid. I'd been taking acid years before my first trip at a rave. I took a quarter of a tab, literally 1/4 of a single dose. And with all of the overstimulation and all of the visuals and like everything that stimulates your senses at a rave, a quarter of a dose can feel like 3 taps just because of so much sensory overload. That's the point of raves, is a sensory overload, and to have a good time and a unique experience is that it's like the vitamin C to the rooms. It intensifies the trip tenfold. It's insane.
Yeah, for absolutely. I'm just so glad that you were able to share like some of your experiences. Like, you and Nikki alone just in this last year have been through so much, and you know, I appreciate you being willing to open up and share these experiences, because like I've said so many times, I feel like if your mental health is right and your physical health is right, tripping on some psychedelic could benefit you in the long run, whether it gives you perspective or, you know, just makes you humbled and, you know, gives you some feeling of wholesomeness. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Are you on a time constraint, or do you have time for one last story?
If it's like 3 minutes long, yes. Let's
It's
take
about
it.
Nikki's first rave and her hippie kiss.
Can you condense it to 5 minutes?
I could probably do that.
Okay, do it.
So, I'm dating this girl who I'm dating now. Met her 3 years ago on Tinder. Long
Who
story.
we love. We love Nikki.
Oh yeah.
Nikki and Haven are amazing humans.
But took her to her first rave. 3 days before her first rave, she smoked weed for the first time. She grew up really Mormon, so she didn't have any experience with any drugs. Me, on the other hand, well, you know from the stories I've told you.
Right.
Took her to her first rave. I took a tab of acid, and she was going to be sober that night. Probably 45 minutes after I took the tab, we made out, and I didn't know you could give somebody a residual high from taking acid, but
Absolutely,
yeah,
you
you
can.
can. You really can. And
I'm so glad you brought that up.
oh yeah, be careful. we were sitting there, and she started acting all super weird and stuff, and I'm tripping, so I don't know if it's just me tripping or if she is like, somebody slipped something in her drink or something. But the point I realized something was up is we're sitting inside. I can't remember who we were watching, but she looks at me and she's like, time feels like a slinky. It's going really really fast, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about right now? Like, you're tripping me the fuck out. And she kept trying to explain it to me, and I'm like, okay, cool. This is too much. And so went outside, and we're sitting on the grass because my body high's sucking me to the ground, and we're watching my buddy spin poi, and my tracers are just going off the walls, like just insane tracers. And she looks at me, taps on me, and she goes, and I'm like, what? And she tried to say it again and couldn't speak, and she looked frustrated that she couldn't speak, and I'm like, what the fuck? You are on something. She had contacts in that night, so I couldn't tell if she was on anything because I couldn't see her pupils. And so we had Taylor come up, and Taylor was off her rocker that night and fucking swiped out her contacts, and Nikki didn't even feel it. And I looked at Nikki, sure as shit, fucking owl eyes, bro. And so I was like, we need to leave. I don't know what the fuck you're on right now, and we need to go to a safe place in case anything happens. And she was mad about that because it was an Excision was at Get Freaky, and that's like one of the EDM artists she had been listening to before she met me. And so Uncle came and picked me up, and we're talking to him about the experience and stuff, and he's like, you gave her a residual high, dumbass. And I'm like, oh, that makes so much sense. Yeah, that was Nikki's first psychedelic and first rave experience all in one, and she didn't even choose to do that. It just kind of happened.
What a way to pop a rave cherry.
All at once. Man.
Handled it like a champ.
Wow. Well, you guys are amazing and so incredible. And again, I appreciate you opening up and sharing your experiences. So I applaud you, Mr. Haven.
We love you. Golf
We love you guys.
Haven.
You all.
We love you.
We're going to let you go now, and we're going to talk to another friend named Paige, who you know as well.
I like her. She's cool.
Yes.
Yeah. But in the meantime, we wish you and Nikki well, and we will talk to you soon, friend.
Later.
Okay, bye-bye. You guys have a good night.
We
You
love
too,
you.
buddy.
You
Love
too.
you.
Bye, man.
Love you.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.
We are here with our friend Paige, who we love so very dearly. Paige has been one of the only constants in my life for the past several years. She's my rock. She's my fucking... If I need someone to tell me the truth and be brutal with it, I can always depend on Paige. So that being said, Paige, how have psychedelics affected your life?
Oh man, definitely like an experience. Like it's definitely like I never thought I would ever do psychedelics, but then after you do it, it's just like weight lifted off your shoulders sometimes, because and a lot of times like you get those venting sessions out, you like are speaking your truth, and it's definitely like an empowering feeling as well.
Therapeutic, absolutely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How old were you when you tripped on acid for the first time?
I want to say I was like 19.
Or maybe 20.
Maybe 20?
I think you had just barely turned 20.
Yeah, maybe just barely 20.
Before.
Yeah.
But do you think that it helped you, with life and your mental state and, where you are today?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That night, it was just like a fucking like whirlwind of emotions, and there's just like a lot going on. But even talking with you two, I was able to really get out some like deep stuff, or like stuff that's never really talked about.
Break down that wall and those barriers.
Yeah, exactly. And
your whole life, actually, yeah.
Yeah, and it was an amazing feeling. And then the next morning, I got up like super early and I went for a walk, and I just like, you look at the world like completely different. It's just, you're like, this is so beautiful, and this is like why I'm here and what I'm doing. And yeah, it's
honestly, and I mean I had tripped a lot of times with lots of different types of people before I got to experience that night with you, and it was something that completely, like, the next day I felt like my world had been changed. Like, it felt like I had gone through an ego death just by being with
Yeah.
you and experiencing what happened throughout your trip. And I want you to know I feel very blessed to have been a part of that and to have been able to just be there for you during that time. And it changed me in a way that I never expected for the better. And I really thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I thank you guys because you guys were talking about earlier, you have to be in the right setting, the right place, like around the right people. And it was like the perfect first time. And to be able to do it with both of you was like even better.
I hope nobody clicks on that at the wrong time because it would have sounded like we were getting down and dirty.
Oh, yeah.
They totally did.
Yeah.
Maybe we did.
Safe
You'll
space,
never
you guys.
know.
Safe space.
Now Sarah's a little jealous.
Yeah.
She's got to chime in.
I gotta get on that shit.
Maybe there is something to this psychedelic thing.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Watching the wheels turn a little bit like,
The
Yeah.
eyes bright up a little bit. Well,
I thought it was really important to have you on the show as someone who's tripped on acid once compared to someone who's tripped
Many times.
More than I
many
can
times,
count.
but with Haven's situation where he would trip excessively.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
you
for
don't
sure.
need
You don't need it.
to dose that high, and Haven even said it himself, like, you don't need to dose that high to get the same experience.
No.
In fact,
Not at all.
haircut method, you can always cut off more. You can always take more. You
And
just can't take it
often
back.
less is more too.
Less is more, and our experience, your first experience, was kind of revolutionary. Like, I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like it broke down a lot of walls and opened a lot of doors for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not only with your mindset, but with your self-esteem
Yes.
and your relationship.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I have said it before, but I feel like it adds to your ability to perceive someone's mindset. Like, you can easily step into someone else's shoes and be like, okay, I understand like where you're coming from.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It makes you more compassionate to
Absolutely.
human life because in those moments you do, like we mentioned in the first episode, you do see both sides of the coin of life, of how horrible and evil things can get, but also how beautiful and just euphoric and amazing
Yeah.
it is all in one.
And that's why we keep touching on balance so much as well, because I feel
It's
like
a huge theme in all of it.
those hard and anxiety ridden moments when you're peaking or when you first dose, that's so normal. And
Yeah.
I said it already, it's a quote from Have a Good Trip, a documentary Paige
Yes.
actually showed me on Netflix, which I definitely recommend watching.
Recommend
Alice
100%.
in Wonderland's friend made that.
I'm not surprised by that.
And I love that.
Yeah, but there's a quote in there, is like, if the zipper starts to unfold, don't stop it. Just let it
Just
keep
let it
going.
go.
Because the more you try and fight whatever
Where
is
it's
trying to
trying-
come up and
worse it'll
purge,
be.
the worse it'll be.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember even my first time doing shrooms, which I know you're not supposed to like trip, or they recommend you don't trip like when you're going through something or you're stressed.
That can be situational based for sure.
So when me and my boyfriend, we had our own apartment, we were going through kind of like a rough patch, and I've never done shrooms before, and he's did them like maybe a few times, and we just decided, we were like, look, let's do shrooms, let's talk everything out, let's like get all this shit, and like let's just get this weight lifted off of our shoulders. And we did it, and it was the best time of my life. And after, we felt so good, like we almost had like that better understanding of each other, and it was just amazing.
well, and I'm glad that Haven touched on that, because a lot of the time, especially like with DMT, like a lot of people can experience the same trip or the same headspace.
Yes.
And you come out of it is like, what the fuck did we just experience? It's like, dude, I was there. I experienced that with you. So it's very common to share the same trip and be on the same level. But I'm so glad that you guys were able to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because again, it breaks down those walls and those barriers.
100% does.
And you're not afraid to be honest. You're not afraid to open up and say what's plainly on your mind
for sure.
without ridicule, because
Yep.
you're at the time, that's what I say. Like, for me, if I were ever to trip on any drug ever again, I warn people who trip with me because it's like a truth serum.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I become fucking sassy. Serina knows this better
Oh,
than
yeah.
anybody.
Sometimes there's no talking sense into this woman when she's, yeah.
No, I feel like a powerful, like, black woman, just like in her right, where I'm just like, no, lady, let me
Yep.
tell you.
Yep.
Like,
Bitch, I am in my final form. You do not tell me shit.
I even like you remember, y'all probably remember from a couple episodes ago where I got a little excited and I was just like, oh yeah, like my alter ego who's from the South comes out. Yeah, trying to make a point. Like,
For sure.
that's
And that's why they're so nice, because, like, I can't even tell you how many conversations and, like, breakthroughs Logan and I have had, whether we were rolling together or tripping together, like, and we're able to come at things in a point of compassion and perspective.
Oh, yeah.
And we both understand, especially during those times, because you're so lovey and you just want to understand. And you, like, are very much in a mindset where you want to hear what's going on. With
well,
your
and
person.
as human beings, like we're all searching for the same thing. You know, we're all just
Absolutely.
looking for validation
Mhm.
and to be seen. And nobody is different.
No.
Find me one person that's different, and we'll fight about
Unless
it.
you're a sociopath or a psychopath, you yearn for that.
Yeah.
No.
I was just gonna say, for someone like me and her as well, like we have a hard time often just like expressing feelings like in normal
Due to
everyday
previous
life.
stuff.
Yeah, and
For
so
sure.
often, like a lot of times, like stuff that's been built up for a couple months will come out in a trip, but then like it's talked about, it's solved, and everything's fine.
And
Oh,
there's
yeah.
always
It's like couples therapy without fucking paying $500
It's-
or whatever.
I highly recommend it. And like between like Paige's experience and our experience, like I highly recommend it for sure, even if you're microdosing or
Yeah.
something.
So I touched on this while we were talking to Haven, but Paige has this remarkable rate of burning off drugs.
Oh,
At
yes.
a higher rate than all of us do. Like I remember, like when we would go to festivals together, we would
Yes.
and we would dose together, and like we'd all take the same amount. You know, there'd still be 3 hours before the end of a festival, and she's like, "I'm
sober. I need to
Sober.
find something, man." And I'm
I
like,
need
bro,
to like,
I'm
sneak up to the bar or something." Is like,
and
bitch,
me and
I'm
Alicia are like,
tripping
Yeah.
dicks.
I need to sit
all
down.
the dicks.
All the dicks.
All the dicks in the world. I'm tripping right now. How the fuck are you sober?
Yeah, it's happened in quite a few trips that we've had, because I remember even when we ate the cheeseburger. Remember?
Yeah, forever ago.
And yeah, forever ago, and she was still tripping, and by like the end of it or whatever, I was like,
It's almost
I'm
no fun
sober.
at that point because
Yeah.
I'm rolling on the ground
Yeah.
laughing hysterically.
And she's
on
just
the
like,
couch
I'm
like,
sober as
what
shit.
are you doing?
I'm not on that wavelength anymore.
Like, I love you, no judgment, but like, God.
yeah,
Like, can we just like be over now?
yeah.
Done.
I don't know what it is though. Like, I wish like I could get the, but
Could
Nope.
possibly have something to do with like a higher metabolism or something.
Yeah.
Possibly.
Maybe it just burns faster through
You
your
burn
system.
that shit off so fast. I'm done.
yeah,
I'm done.
All right.
Sometimes
All
I
right.
wish I had that, because there are definitely times when I've tried to go to bed after like 8 to 10
14 hours
hours, and I'm
later.
like, can you shut the fuck up, brain? I'm done.
Yeah.
My body's done. But it's like, if I stay up, I'll still have the visuals. And I'm like,
yeah.
Right. Well, so Paige, what would be your recommendation to someone like Sarah who's never tripped before? As someone who's only tripped one time, like, do you think that it's been beneficial to your life only experiencing that one time?
Yeah, I definitely think that one time it was definitely eye-opening and definitely like a great experience. I would definitely love to try it again and do it. But for someone who's never done it, I would totally recommend shrooms. Shrooms or Molly, definitely.
Yeah, so depending on like what kind of MDMA or
MDA or MDMA.
yeah, you get
Whoa.
different psychoactive results. So
Yeah.
some don't have any psychedelic effects, but some do,
Mhm.
which is a big misconception because I didn't realize that before this recording.
Yeah.
But
No. Yeah.
people have also told me that ketamine can also have
Oh,
psychedelic effects as well.
absolutely. It just depends on the type, because there's I don't know specifics. I don't know too much about ketamine, but I know there's basically two base kinds. There's one that is used more as an anesthetic, and then there's one that is more psychedelic. You'll get more of a psychedelic experience. But something to add with the MDMA psychedelic properties. Yeah, MDMA itself does not really have too many like hallucinogenic properties.
And that's what Serina meant earlier by rolling. Like if you're on ecstasy or Molly, you're
MDMA,
rolling.
But you can get like tracers. Your senses seem to be heightened. If anything, if you want to call that hallucinogenic, like your hearing, your visuals, especially feeling's the number one.
Yeah.
But MDA, its grandfather, there's a little more psychoactive properties. You get a little more, I wouldn't say visuals, but there's been times where I've been on MDA and like walls have turned colorful.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
For
Yeah,
example.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes
Nothing
sense.
crazy.
So, all that being said, like, would you say, like, if Sarah was ever in a position or, like, someone who was, like, thinking about experience something like this for the first time, like, would you say that if they went into it, like, they'd have any fear? Like, they shouldn't be fearful, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, not at all. Like, just relax. Make sure you're in a good spot. Like, even the first time I shroomed, because I was, like, super sketched about it. So, we had eaten them first, and then I showered, I shaved. Like, I did everything. I did, my, like,
That's so nice. 'cause
routine.
You're feeling really
I did my face routine. And you just feel so good. And then, like, once you get out, for me, once I got out of the shower, it was just an amazing feeling. Like, you just feel so clean. And then, like, go sit down with, like, your favorite blanket or go watch your favorite show, watch something trippy. And you're just gonna, next thing you know, you're just gonna be, like, laughing. Like, that's one thing I noticed with me. I will just smile, like, from ear to ear. And, like, you cannot control it. And you just start laughing at everything. Like,
Paige also gets really feely. So, like,
Yes.
I know when it's hitting her because she'll start, like, rubbing my leg.
yes.
None of us complain. We're like, I'll give you back scratches back.
Paige also is, like, the cutest human in the world where she'll apologize to you a billion times in a row. She's like, I'm sorry, I'm touching you. And it's like, it's okay, it feels good. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like,
Very big on consent, Miss Paige.
Yes, very.
So there is a chance that something happens.
Again.
I just gotta throw that out there.
Yes.
only if you're looking for it. Wink, wink.
You never know. You gotta try it in college, right? I never went to college, so
Facts.
we'll hit you up.
We're still in our young mid-20s. We can still experience.
It's like we would be in our
things.
college years, right?
Right?
Yeah.
We can still have the same experiences.
So
He should have been on our polygamy portion of the Utah episode if he wants a second
honestly,
wife.
he is so funny. He's like, I could use a second wife. Excuse you.
No, he couldn't.
No,
he couldn't.
no.
Can he handle the one he has now?
I was gonna say what?
Barely.
Does he have sisters?
They're both married.
Well, I'm just gonna say, like, one woman at a time is enough, my man.
Oh yeah, no.
One.
He has 4 sisters.
Oh, then he should not be wanting more than one woman.
No.
around.
Back to our Utah EP. Hey, Chase.
Hey.
Hey.
Well, all that being said, Paige, is there anything else you'd like to add about your experience or what you would want to tell people who have never tried it before?
Just make sure that, like they said earlier, like, if it's your first time, you don't need to go all out. You don't need to take the most big, like, dose.
It's not
like,
a competition.
It's not a competition. Definitely make sure you're in a comfortable spot. Like I said, even if you're at home, take a shower before, like, freshen up, get your favorite blanket, get your favorite clothes, like, whatever really comforts you the most.
Get yourself ready to, like, treat yourself to, like, a night in, if you will.
And
I
also
recommend cleaning before you take your stuff, because if you're tripping right after you've cleaned your house and you're feeling good, you've got some candles lit or something, or
And
incense
even
going. It sets a
Goddess
whole
status.
ass vibe.
Yes.
I am that bitch
Well, and
status.
I know people too who will be like tripping at their house, and they're like, "My house is a fucking mess," and they'll like start freaking out about
Cleaning.
it in the middle of their
People,
trip. And it's
I've
like, I
started
should have
cleaning
cleaned
during
before
a
I did
trip.
this.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, even if, like, and if you are getting that overwhelming feeling, like you can feel it in your chest or you're just feeling uneasy, take a walk outside. Go outside, get some fresh air, because then you can, It's just the best feeling.
Connect with nature.
Yeah.
And
Go
ground
sit in the
yourself.
grass. Like, go. Yeah, definitely recommend that.
That's a big thing. And now that we're diving into ayahuasca, we'll touch on how important nature is. All that being said, thank you so much, Paige. We love you so much, and it was such an honor to have you on the show.
Yay.
Thank you for sharing and opening up about your experiences. You're such
Of
a beautiful
course.
human.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes, thank you. So from there, we're going to jump into ayahuasca. Archaeological finds in Ecuador show that indigenous Amazons have been consuming ayahuasca for over 3,000 years.
Yes.
All
God
right.
damn.
DMT,
5.
You said
5,000.
Says 5.
Over 5,000 years.
it's even more.
Excuse me. DMT is one of the main ingredients in the ancient shamanic brew ayahuasca, a South American entheogenic brew commonly made out of the... I'm so sorry if I hack this, but it's made out of the Banisterio Piscis copy vine and the Psychotria viridis shrub. People who have consumed ayahuasca report having mystical experiences and spiritual insight into how to be the best person they possibly can. This is viewed by many as a spiritual awakening and what is often described as a near-death experience or rebirth, like we've mentioned previously. It is often reported that individuals feel they gain access to higher spiritual dimensions and make contact with various spiritual or extra-dimensional beings who can act as guides or healers. In the 16th century, Christian missionaries from Spain first encountered indigenous Western Amazonian basin South Americans, so think, your modern-day Peru or Ecuador, using ayahuasca. Their earliest reports described it as, guess,
Devil worshippers.
the work of the devil.
Dun dun
Satan.
Dun,
dun.
dun, dun. Of course they did. That's probably, again, why everything is so taboo. That just adds to everything.
It's gone so far back that it's hard to shake it.
Yeah.
We're breaking the. I feel like our generation is breaking a lot of that stuff, though.
A lot.
A lot.
Normalizing a lot of things, yeah. I just want to say that ayahuasca and taking ayahuasca, vomiting is very common and can follow ayahuasca ingestion. This is considered by many shamans and experienced users of ayahuasca to be a purging and essential part of the experience, representing the release of negative energy and emotions built up over the course of one's life. And that is again, very much bleeds over to all the other things that we've talked about too. Though ayahuasca was traditionally used for religious and spiritual purposes by specific populations, it has become popular worldwide among those who seek a way to open their minds, heal from past traumas, or simply want to experience an ayahuasca journey. It's strongly recommended that ayahuasca only be taken when supervised by an experienced shaman, as those who take it need to be looked after carefully, as an ayahuasca trip leads to an altered state of consciousness that lasts for many hours. Many people travel to other countries like Peru, Costa Rica, and Brazil to be a part of multi-day retreats. They're led by experienced shamans, again, who prepare the brew and monitor participants for safety. Before partaking in an ayahuasca ceremony, it's recommended that participants abstain from cigarettes, drugs, alcohol, sex, and caffeine to purify their bodies. It's also often suggested to follow various diets, such as vegetarianism or even veganism, for 2 to 4 weeks prior to this experience. This is claimed to free the body of all toxins. Ayahuasca ceremonies are usually held at night and last until the effects have worn off. After the space is prepared and blessed by the shaman leading the ceremony, ayahuasca is offered to participants, sometimes split into several doses. So, Sarah, imagine taking ayahuasca for the first time in fucking Peru, another country.
I would die.
And going back up to this altar and being like, can I have a second shot, please?
Right? Oh my god. Just the
Please,
throwing
sir,
up.
may I have another?
Yeah, the throwing up part gets me off because I'm not the best person. Because I had a migraine. Oh my gosh. I am like that person. Like, is she dying in there? Be like, yes.
Yes,
she
I
is.
am.
Just let her
she is.
let her be. Let her be.
I'm so excited to share AB's perspective because she was purging and vomiting and
Wasn't she more so on the first or second day?
the first day
And
specifically.
then some people didn't get it until the very last day.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
That'd be
everybody
hard.
was different. Yeah.
That'd be
That
hard
would be-
emotionally.
I'd rather just get it over the first day.
Exactly, because then you're over it and you can just enjoy each trip.
You already purged it, so you're like, let me just.
But that's
Relax.
the same. That's the thing with ayahuasca. It's the same as LSD. It's never the same trip. So going into it, you don't know what to expect.
For sure.
And I really like her story of it all, AB's, because she's throwing up into a toilet and she was like, "It was a rainbow." I couldn't help but just like laugh hysterically at it, like so much so I had to remove myself from the rest of the group because I didn't want to interfere with what they were
Right.
experiencing, you know what I mean? It's not uncommon for those taking ayahuasca to experience both positive and negative effects from the brew. These ceremonies are sometimes conducted consecutively again, so a lot of these retreats are set up in like 2 to 3 day periods. And again, it's become more popular in the U.S., so you could find a retreat near you. You just need to do a little research if you're interested.
I think I'm okay.
The only thing I've read that's like in comparison to that is that often like the ones in Costa Rica or South America is usually more like potent. Is
Oh,
what
for
I've
sure,
heard
yeah.
compared to the U.S. retreats, but that's the only other like difference I've really heard. That and
They
probably
know.
it's a more genuine experience probably in South America, Costa Rica, because you have
'Cause that's,
like
like, their
that
roots.
shaman, and it's in the same place where it's been done for thousands of years. so-
They got their shit together.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
know what they doing.
Potential benefits of ayahuasca, Sarah.
Hey.
Many people who have taken ayahuasca claim that the experience led to positive long-term life-altering changes. This may be due to the effects of ayahuasca on the neurological system. In recent research, it has shown that ayahuasca may benefit health, particularly brain health, in a number of ways. The main active ingredients in ayahuasca are, again, DMT and B-carbolines, and they have shown to exhibit neuroprotective and neurorestrictive qualities in some studies. Research has shown that taking ayahuasca may increase the mindfulness capacity of your brain and improve your overall psychological well-being. It may help treat addiction, anxiety, treatment-resistant depressions, and PTSD. Several studies have focused on the effects of ayahuasca on addiction disorders, including addictions to crack cocaine, alcohol, and nicotine, with really promising results.
Oh,
Exactly.
absolutely. Something I just wanted to add really quick is that Africa has their own version of ayahuasca. It's called the iboga plant. I don't remember if it's a root or if it's like a type of pepper or something like that. But they've used it for similar things for treating addiction and stuff like that. But it lasts like 24 hours or something like that. And people have reported that like after the experience, they have like this like outside voice that's still there, like giving them like positive advice and stuff.
Right.
Very interesting.
Very
Another
interesting.
something to like
Yeah,
if you ever
Yeah,
want
and
to look into it.
It's not just like the Amazonians, but it's like people in ancient Greece. It's
been
people.
around for
And I'm actually really excited that we're about to dive into the mushroom because you're going to hear a little bit. I mean, even people in fucking Siberia.
Well, my culture, I'm Norwegian, and the not just the Vikings, but just the Norwegian culture. It was they used to do it in ceremonies. They used to every year, or every 9 years, they would have this ceremony, and they would just eat ridiculous amounts of mushrooms.
Well, and a lot of a lot of these are ritualistic from history. So a lot of them were part of religion or some spiritual awakening sense type of community, if you will. If that made any sense.
I want to say before we continue that sometimes you don't even know that the people in your life that you think are such amazing people dabble in psychedelics. And I think if anything, even if you listen to this and you're like, I still don't want to do these things, that's okay. We're not talking about this to try and get
Totally
people.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, we're not trying to get people to
We're just
do
trying to
this
spread
more.
some knowledge.
But spread knowledge and awareness and know, like, I feel like I'm a good person. I will help anybody that needs help. I will give all of myself before I give anything back to me. And I think it's important to know that every single person I've met, for the most part, that dabbles in this stuff, are such good people.
we're going to dive into mushrooms. Due to the 1960s counterculture, the use of psychedelic drugs increased dramatically until they were ultimately banned in the 1970s with Richard Nixon's launch of the War on Drugs, air quote. Although not every stone was left unturned, as psilocybin molecule was banned, however, the spores remain federally legal. This is due to spores not inherently containing psilocybin, though they do have the capacity to produce organisms that contain psilocybin. Psilocybin remains legal in a variety of countries like Jamaica and Brazil. Like I said earlier, there are more than 100 species of mushrooms around the world that contain psilocybin, a hallucinogenic compound. Archaeologists believe humans have used these magic mushrooms since prehistoric times. Terence McKenna, an American ethnobotanist, renowned psychedelic advocate and author, expressed this theory in his book, Food of the Gods. McKenna proposed that our African ancestors used magic mushrooms for the visual effects and to aid their hunting. He mentions psilocybin caused the primitive brain to expand in its information processing abilities, stating that early humans literally ate their way to consciousness. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, could you imagine being the first caveman? Because, like, back then, like, Logan tells me about this stuff all the time, and it makes sense, but, like, back then, you just had to try things and see what happened. Like, if you saw some guy eat some berries and then he died, you'll take note not to eat those kinds of berries. So, like, could you imagine being the first caveman to find magic mushrooms and eat them thinking they were food, and then to just be tripping fucking dick?
No.
Back then? What if a saber-tooth tiger rolls up on your bitch ass? You're getting eaten. Like,
It might be more like, spiritual that way.
Well, there's other species of animals that have been recorded using like drugs and stuff. For example, dolphins will pass around a pufferfish because it has a toxin that it emits that will get dolphins high.
I've heard
they
that.
will literally pass it around like how we pass around a bowl of weed.
Dolphins are...
Jaguars too. Jaguars.
I knew I liked dolphins.
People have found jaguars like walking through the jungles in South America, just completely inebriated, not moving on the ground. They like to chew on the same roots that ayahuasca, like the DMT, like comes from, and trip dick.
We're all just mammals, man.
So ultimately,
Goddamn.
I understand why DMT is considered the strongest psychedelic known to man, because it contributes to all of these other things, such as ayahuasca.
It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
It's like a fruit salad.
The religious use of the psychoactive mushrooms have been documented in Siberia, and I had to share this one, Sarah, because I know you'd laugh. The indigenous tribes are known to drink the hallucinogenic urine from reindeer
What?
who have consumed the well-known red and white spotted Amanita muscaria mushroom.
Oh my god.
Excuse me?
Yeah, don't you want to drink some pee to get high?
Reindeer.
Fuck no. That's just getting high with extra steps.
Reindeer.
Well, and that's true, because in all the research I found, it says, although the effects are remarkably different from psilocybin-containing mushrooms, due to the dissociative activity produced by the active ingredients, muscimol and ibotenic acid in the urine, pretty much, yeah.
Something worthy to know is Amanita muscaria. If you just ingest it, like how it can kill you. Yes.
Well,
the way
shit.
that,
So that's why they
the
did
way
it
that
that
human
way.
beings have to ingest Amanita muscaria, I believe you have to put it through a process before you can ingest it, or it can kill you.
But urine?
I'm not agreeing with that method, but
I'll just find a different type
it's
of
because
mushroom.
of the muscinaria poisoning, because it can kill you. Yeah.
Okay then.
Interesting. This is why it was good to have him on here.
Oh my god. In 2018, the FDA granted Compass Pathways permission to study psilocybin mushrooms as a treatment for depression. In 2019, Johns Hopkins revealed its Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness Research, the University of Toronto and Beckley Foundation are all contributing to the growing amount of research surrounding the benefits of psilocybin. These studies have pushed the decriminalization movement of psychotropic substances into action. Ballot initiatives are in progress in several cities, while Oakland, Santa Cruz, and Santa Cruz have already decriminalized magic mushrooms. Colorado is the first state in the United States to legalize psychedelic mushrooms.
But don't forget Oregon.
We
Again.
talked about that in that
Yeah.
first episode,
Dude.
man. Oregon.
Oregon's fucking wild. Everything's legal in Oregon. From there, I want to talk about peyote.
Peyote.
Yes. Peyote is a cactus native to parts of Mexico and Texas. This contains a psychoactive chemical called mescaline. Native Americans in Mexico have used peyote and mescaline in religious ceremonies for thousands of years. Shocker, just like everything else.
5,000, 3,000,
It's
2,000.
almost as if they shouldn't be illegal.
What?
Yeah, the universe is just providing it for people.
I mean, guys, it's a cactus. It's just a cactus.
It is, and they're crazy looking cactuses too. Like they look
Hey.
like gourds.
They're like little, like flat pumpkins.
Yeah.
Almost.
So yeah,
It's
you
like
can't
popping
you
out
can
of the ground.
eat can't you eat cactuses?
Yeah.
Depends on the type of cactus.
So that's
Prickly
how
pear cactus.
that's how
And
you ingest peyote.
So let's be honest, peeps.
Yeah, in 1970, the United States published the Comprehensive Drug Abuse Prevention and Control Act, because they're lovely. The law organized all controlled substances into classes, and depending on the class the drug fell into, most of them became illegal. However, one of these drugs, a naturally occurring psychedelic known as peyote, managed to slip through the cracks.
So it's completely legal to do that anywhere?
Not exactly.
Okay.
It's really hard to find.
That makes
The
sense.
only places you can find it are in certain parts of Mexico and
Right.
certain parts of Texas near like Laredo, Texas.
Okay.
And you are responsible for digging those up yourself.
There is a loophole though that a lot of people don't know.
Because of-
There's another type of cactus that has mescaline in it and at the same levels as peyote that actually is what like this the way I'm going to say this is accurate. It's usually how most white people do mescaline is through the San Pedro cactus, because people have these cactuses just growing in their yard, not knowing that they have mescaline in them, and people will take cuttings of these cactus and replant them and grow their own cactus to make mescaline out of. Peyote itself, though, a lot of tribes hold it like sacred, so it's not just like something you can go buy
Yeah.
somewhere. Like it's specifically the peyote cactus is held very sacred by multiple tribes, so it's a lot less accessible as compared to something like LSD or magic mushrooms.
Right.
That's awesome.
We love you, Paige.
Sorry, that was so
We love you so much. Thank you.
I thought you were like walking this way, and I was like, oh, she's over here.
Thank you
Okay.
for watching Elliot for me.
Yes, of course.
You guys are awesome. I'm sorry it ran later than
No, you're okay.
anticipated.
We just have to go.
There's a lot to unload.
Girl, did you not see the? I knew.
So I'm gonna add to what Logan had to say. As the drug is used in a lot of Native American religious ceremonies, the consumption of it for religious purposes is legal. While used for observational, scientific, or journalistic intent, that is permitted by the DEA as well. So that's interesting. All that being said, like Serina asked, it's rare to find somebody today who hasn't experimented with psychedelic drugs at least once in their life. Sarah, you're the anomaly. Over 20 million Americans admit to have trying one in the past, and 1.3 million people admit to taking them on a regular basis. But of all those psychedelic drugs, the bulk of which are on the widely popular LSD, shrooms, or some forms of MDMA, almost none of them are on peyote. The rarity of people who have tried the drug are likely due in part to its rarity as a plant. Known scientifically as Lophoria williamsi, peyote grows only in northern Mexico in two small regions of southern Texas near Laredo, like I was saying earlier.
Right.
But, me and Logan both tried to describe it, and the size of the plants ranges from, like, golf ball to, like, softball sizes, and they're really fucking weird-looking cactuses. Like,
Yeah.
they are straight cactuses. The older ones are larger, but regular users say that the smaller, younger ones are more potent, so...
Which is interesting.
yeah. I
Well,
guess
actually,
look
kind of
for
makes
that.
sense
Kind of like a
because
scorpion.
yeah, or like a skunk.
Oh.
According to renowned psychedelic drug expert Dr. John Halpern, the effects are similar to most other hallucinogens. The active ingredient that results in the psychedelic trip is mescaline, like I said. Halpern claims that a full dose of peyote, roughly like 400 milligrams, with a 1 to 3% mescaline content, could result in an 8 to 12 hour high. No. However,
Shit.
Not many inexperienced users will ever reach that level. To consume a full dose, one has to eat between 10 and 12 buttons, or tiny slices of the inner parts of peyote. According to Laurel Tohi, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, a writer for Vice who consumed peyote while on a trip to Mexico, the effect was, quote, dreamy. At times I felt mildly sick, but that could have been due to heat or dehydration as much as the peyote. She described in her account of the trip, when the feelings were strongest, I had the familiar mind twitch I often associate with psychedelics. I thought I could hear the emptiness of the desert. The first few hours took on a dreamy quality, and I was unable to focus fully on anything. The later hours were more lucid, and the experience had no sharply defined start, peak, or end. I still felt the dreamy, drifting effects of it the next day. Everything was amplified, she said. I was thirstier, the desert was hotter, and the ground was harder. It was easy for me to imagine how peyote could enhance a religious experience. End quote. The real reason that peyote is so revered and freely grown in Mexico comes from the Native American culture's longtime use of it in its religious ceremonies. For thousands of years, Native Americans in central and northern Mexico have been ingesting peyote for spiritual purposes. The intended effects of the drug consist of heightened awareness, especially of one's surrounding and emotions. I want to touch on this as well, really quick. Alcoholism has a higher rate in Native Americans, and
yes, it does.
They say, especially the Navajo tribe, attribute a lot of their sobriety to taking peyote and being one with nature. So shout out to you guys. Apparently whatever you're doing for however long it's been working. All that said, I wanted to note, as we did earlier, we mentioned MDMA, ecstasy or Molly, and ketamine, sometimes associated with our dance parties and rave culture.
Hey.
They can sometimes have those psychoactive attributes in it. But I wanted to note this too, because it was a big thing that popped up while I was doing my research. A big misconception and another reason why LSD and other hallucinogenic drugs back in the 1960s and 70s were so taboo and so frowned upon is because PCP was huge back in the 70s as well. And it could be conceived as the same thing as LSD. You have a lot of the same effects
together.
But PCP is highly addictive. Mm-hmm. I don't recommend anyone do it. It's highly illegal. But at the time, it was being used as an anesthetic, and a lot of people were using it through the 60s and 70s for its psychoactive properties. So that could be a little confusing as well.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of people don't know that cocaine is an anesthetic.
Yeah, that's true.
I know that now.
Yes. So all that being said, I don't know where my phone went.
It's right here. Cut this part out. Hee hee.
Hee hee. But we're going to answer questions from people from our peanut gallery. I actually really like this email. This one is for Sarah.
Oh.
It's from a girl named Janee from Iowa City, Iowa. She
Kind of
said,
forget about that place.
I think we all do.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's just
Nebraska.
like, yeah,
Driving
or
through there
or
was
like
hell for
Ohio.
Boston. Oh my god.
Ohio.
Nothing against
I know Iowa and
Iowans, but
Ohio are just there. You kind of forget about them.
The only thing cool about Ohio is Lost Lands. Sorry, guys.
But
even the locals, they prepare for that shit. We bring in so much revenue.
So Janee from Iowa
Anyways.
City wanted to ask, and obviously this has been answered throughout the episode. Obviously, Sarah hasn't tricked before.
Nope.
She was like, Sarah, would you ever be willing to try a psychoactive drug? And if so, how would you feel about it going against your religion?
So,
Which is actually a very good question.
yeah.
Especially after now that you've like got to sit through this stuff and gather your own information and have your own opinion, kind of.
But mind you, Janee, Sarah is not a practicing LDS member. She was just brought up in the church.
Yes. So I was raised in a super Mormon family. So my dad's side, my mom's side, but my dad wasn't very much. My mom wasn't very much for a while, so I kind of was in that aspect of like my mom and dad kind of got back into it separately. So they're not married or anything, but so thinking about like that with like my mom, she would probably like kill me. She'd be like, "What? You're doing drugs now?" Because oh my gosh, I said hell in the salon, and she looked at me like I said the F word.
Just recently, too. Right?
It was like a couple of days ago. No, like I love you, Mom, but it's it's okay.
So obviously they wouldn't take it lightly.
No, they would not.
But
I mean,
how would you feel about it personally? Because you and I
If
have
your
been-
parents' opinion, and I know that your mom listens probably, but like if that wasn't an aspect, would you consider it?
yeah, I mean, I would. I mean, like you gotta try everything once before you be like, oh my god, you do acid? That is so stupid. But like we don't know. Like with weed, like I didn't know before, but I'm like, oh hey, like in certain ways, it's like it feels like you just like when I do weed, I just get
When I do weed.
when I
inject
when
the
I get the lettuce in me, I just like I get really like my husband hates it because he's like you just get mean. I'm like, well, you get annoying, so I'm sorry.
I'm not mean, I'm honest.
Exactly, it's the truth serum.
I'm just like
drugs.
and I just so like we went up to Bear Lake one time and we did loose one, and I actually liked smoking it a little bit better, and I just sat there in the hot tub and just like was trying to like listen on everything. And my mother-in-law, she doesn't do that, but she was looking at me like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. Why? And she's like, you're just really quiet. I've never seen you that quiet before. And I'm like, I'm fine. Just leave me alone. I'm trying to focus on everyone's conversations. But I mean, like, hearing what you guys said, I'm like, it doesn't sound as scary. I mean, like, maybe just do it once and be like, you know what, this wasn't for me. But again, like with like Paige, how she said, it's just like, it can open your mind. And maybe like it would really help me in my life, and it could help you in your life. Even if you are Mormon or not, it's okay to, if you have like wicked depression, like every person has depression, Mormon or not, like it's okay to use more natural healing ways than getting Prozac or Zoloft or anything like that.
I promise you, in whatever belief system you're in or whatever religion you believe in, your God will forgive you.
Exactly. And it's like it's between you and your God.
Your God.
No one
Exactly.
else should judge you for that.
No, and I think it's all about growing and experiencing life in a different way.
Really opens your mind.
You're in an altered state, but I don't know how to describe it in any other way. Like, I just feel like it makes you grow as a person. And as we've touched on, it makes you more compassionate. It makes you more empathetic.
Just
it makes you more
open in
loving.
general.
It makes you willing to have these fucking hard discussions with people and have an open mind, because you're able to step in their shoes. You're able to step in their perspective and be like, okay, like I can see and understand where you're coming from, but you also need to understand, like, this is where I'm coming from, and our opinions don't mean shit. Like, boil it all down, like, we're just blips in time, and like
We're like, or in Here's a Who, like we're that little thing that he carries
speck.
around like a little dandelion. That is us.
Yes.
It shows you how small you are, but also how
Significant it can be.
significant you are, and how crazy it is that you're existing in this moment, in this time. And I think it's important to note for me, like, before I did psychedelics, I was in the worst place I'd ever been in my entire life. Still to this day, I was so depressed, I almost drove myself off of a cliff. And I'm just being candid here, like, that's where I was at, and then I found psychedelics, and it gave me a sense of purpose. It gave me clarity enough to really sit down with myself and figure out what it is that I want out of life and who I want to be and what I want to do that's going to make me happy and fulfilled. And that's going on 4 years now, and I'm doing the things that I had only dreamed of, and I'm actively pursuing things that I would have never let myself even dream about before.
And it gives you a different perspective on yourself too.
Absolutely.
It's like, I'm worthwhile, and I'm such an awesome human for just existing and getting this far in my life. And you have those moments of like appreciation where you may be tripping dick, but it's just like you're looking at your hands, just like, God, these are my hands. And it's like, man, this is my body. And it's just like, you find such gratitude in the smallest inklings of moments. And I think that's why it's so special and profound for a lot of people. And it can be very moving.
Yeah.
A lot of people often have this this realization that's very humbling, that makes you feel extremely small, and especially if you know anything about science and stuff, like you come to these realizations. Like, for example, one of the realizations I came to one time was that you're literally just a brain with millions and millions of nerve endings in a meat suit on a rock that's literally spinning through space.
Yeah. A lot of people go through this life feeling lost or unwanted or unvalidated. And it's like, I've had trips in the past where it's just like, we're all one and we're connected and I'm never alone. You know what I mean? Like, even though my life is so short in the big end of things, like, I could leave whatever legacy that I put the work and effort into and create. And that's what Serina means, is like, our lives are so short and so small, but we could last forever.
Absolutely.
And it, again, like with this podcast too, like that's my whole thing. It's all about expanding your mind and opening up your headspace to new things and new ideas. And God bless hallucinogens, because a lot of people solely base, freedom of speech and writing and creativity and imagination based off of this. And as you said and touched on before, so many people trip on hallucinogens.
People you wouldn't even expect.
Whether you know it or not. Your 6th grade teacher probably did. I'm positive I did.
I saw a thread on Twitter the other day of this guy asking, like, hey, if you rave, drop your occupancy. And this guy shared a story that he met this dude that was tripping face at a show, and he was a 6th grade teacher. And you know what? I bet he was one of the best fucking teachers in that whole area. Because of... And I took care of elderly people. I was a CNA for years. I was an assistant manager for a group home for kids with autism. I have done things that matter. And I'm still a very well-rounded human.
I've worked in customer service, and I'm a mother. And, I have a lot of turbulent relationships in my life. And to be quite honest, having experienced these phenomenal phenomenas in my past, it's made me easier to approach. It's made me more acceptable of the things that I cannot change. I only can change like how I react to things, you know what I mean? It's made me a better mother in the sense that I can get down on my 3-year-old's level and be like, hey man, I understand. I totally get where you're coming from, and I understand your frustration, maybe why you can't express everything so fully, but you will be able to someday. Why are you upset right now? It gives me more patience. And it doesn't matter who you are. There's no one in the same person. Like, everybody can trip on something and gain something from it, whether it be a good trip or a bad trip. You're always gaining something from something.
Knowledge.
Well, like
something from something.
Even socially, like for me personally, acid specifically has helped me when it comes to other, like, talking to other people, like you were just saying about with Elliot, like actually hearing people's thoughts and feelings and opinions, because often people will relay something to you and you listen to what they're saying, but you're not hearing it. You're listening to it, but you're not hearing it. And for those that can't see us, I'm pointing at my chest when I say hearing, just to mean like actually hearing them, actually being empathetic to what you are hearing and taking that in and going, oh, so maybe that's why this person feels or thinks this way.
Hey, we're not promoting how
Yeah,
to...
absolutely not.
Right.
I'm just trying to educate how things work.
Yeah, I'm not... Thank you so much, you guys, for those questions. And
You guys are awesome.
I love hearing those because it just shows your reach. Did you know any of those people personally?
No.
No.
Yeah,
See, that's what I'm
you guys
saying.
are awesome.
That's badass.
I don't know
you
anybody
guys.
from Flatbush, New York, but like 29% of our following is from there, which
Okay.
I
Shout out New
You know
York,
what? My
man.
cousin actually lives in New York. I'm not sure where she lives, but I don't know if she knows about this podcast.
maybe it's a Sarah.
Shout
Either way,
out,
I'm
shout out
sharing
to
the
Maddie
shit out of you
Bell
guys.
Yeah.
if she listens to
Well, we
these.
appreciate it. You know, like each episode is going to be a varying topic, as you know, you probably get by now. But I think next week, Sarah and I are going to be solo.
Hey.
We're going to cover Valentine's Day.
Oh
That's
shit.
gonna be
Oh,
fun
interesting.
for you guys.
We're going to dabble in a little bit of the history of the holiday.
You into history?
I love.
Are you a history teacher?
I feel like it
I
matters.
also
Have
am.
you read my
Because
prompter?
history repeats itself.
Yeah, and
This one, yes.
exactly.
I'm a
COVID
history
episode
enthusiast
3.
myself.
I literally, when you were saying that, I was like, we talk about this all the time.
History
Yes.
repeats itself. But
Girl.
I feel like it's important too, because like, do you know why the fuck we celebrate Valentine's Day?
No.
So that
Why would I?
money, revenue for the economy.
Yes, but actually, there's a saint. You know.
There is,
and
yeah,
everything.
no,
So-
that
Do you know why we celebrate St. Patrick's Day?
No, please tell me really quick.
A lot of people don't know this, and you're Irish, so you'll respect.
I
you'll
do.
respect-
I'm Italian.
How do you
St.
not know
Patrick's
this?
Day is mainly celebrated for when the church scared the snakes out of Ireland, which snakes is a term for the Druids, because the Druids used to do human sacrifices.
Oh.
Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Well, okay
We're definitely
then.
gonna have Logan on if we ever cover like occult-like societies and religion, because he's
He's gonna be on that.
Practicing witches.
But all that being said, you guys, thank you so much for listening.
You guys are
Absolutely.
You are
awesome.
incredible. Thank you for emailing into the show.
Way
You
cool.
Are
So excited.
such amazing people. I'm gonna play a clip for you guys from this epic
Show
documentary.
It's
called
a
Have a
documentary.
Good Trip. It's
Highly
on
recommend.
Netflix. Yes, highly recommend. They describe it and explain it so well.
Well, and it's
everything.
another example of people that you wouldn't expect that have done psychedelics or
Yeah.
hallucinogens.
Lots
Lots
of
of
famous
celebrities,
people.
Lots of
a lot of
famous,
people.
yeah.
Yes, highly recommend. I'm going to clip that in now just because they have such a great message in the end.
While it's possible that some things were left out, we did hear from the most important and most strongly felt opinions about LSD. Now it's your turn. You decide.
You know, what we call everyday reality is a projection of consciousness. In reality, there's no such thing as colors or sounds or textures or tastes or smells in the so-called real world. The real world is a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup. It's a fluctuation of energy and information in an infinite void. The sky that an insect sees is not the sky you and I see. A honeybee experiences ultraviolet radiation. I have no idea what that looks like, you know? So when a honeybee looks at a flower, it doesn't see a flower the way you and I see, although it can sense honey from a distance. A snake experiences infrared radiation. A bat experiences the echo of ultrasound. A chameleon's eyeballs swivel on two different axes. You can't even remotely imagine what this would look like to a chameleon. So what's reality? And the answer is there's no such thing.
These compounds, when utilized under optimal conditions, seem to have a rather remarkable facility for catalyzing spiritual level experiences, which by their very nature may have the potential to be transformative.
And enhanced my ability to navigate the world, to be in a family, to relate to my children, to relate to my wife, to my colleagues. It teaches me about community, and it teaches me that, you know, the core of all religious thought ought to be
let me treat others the way I want to be treated myself.
Whenever it was a good trip, I would think, oh my God, we're all one. Death is not something to fear. Life and death are really walking hand in hand with each other, and it's cool.
The first time, or the first couple times I tripped, I really did believe, like, every single person, the planet would be a better planet if everybody took acid once.
Did it make me smarter? Did I become enlightened? I don't know, but I think it enabled me early on to imagine another point of view, another perspective. I think it made me a better person, both creatively and in every other way. I'd rather be a person who's had that in his past than somebody who missed it.
Even now in my adult life, I continue to experience it as a very psychedelic adventure. That is like a baffling, nonsensical riddle. Let's face it, we're all gonna die. So, I thought I'll never do that again. But I did. A few more times. You should not take it cavalierly. I don't know if you should take it.
In the sky, I see a giant zipper. And the zipper starts to open. Now, if you go with the flow, you let the zipper open. And you just fucking deal. If they're bats, if it's God's penis, whatever. You just do it. Okay? If you have any fucking sense when it comes to drugs, don't stop the zipper.
I'm always looking to evolve as a human being. I think we do that by thinking out of the box. We have to accept that the box is just a construct. It's something that we've been conditioned to accept. It's not particularly useful. Everything is in crisis. How are we going to survive the crisis? How do we get over the other side of the wall? And so we need to use whatever tools it takes to get over the other side.
It's like a step ladder to look over a brick wall that's a little bit too tall for you. You use a step ladder, you get to see this crazy landscape. You kind of had an inkling about, every time you walk by this wall. And then some people, can sit in front of the wall and like meditate, and then the wall becomes transparent and they see beyond it, So there are many pathways to arrive at the same realization.
It's a tremendous asset. We would learn about it and not have our government stop us from learning the things that could really be the same with marijuana. I mean, they take away all the possible discovery of all the medicine it could be.
What I would envision really would be certified retreat centers, preferably close to nature, where individuals can go and have a treatment and have expert facilitators help guide them through the experience and afterwards help them integrate that experience into their lives.
If I may say so, the whole consciousness revolution that started in the 60s, which led to other movements, the feminist movement, the ecology movement, the peace movement, Greenpeace, all of that began with the use of hallucinogenic drugs. Many people think that it peaked and it went away. I'm sorry to inform you, the awakening is still going on. We're on a trip all the time. Right now we're on a trip, right? Life is a trip.
Such a great documentary, directed by Donick, Cary. You can find Have a Good Trip, Adventures in Psychedelics on Netflix. If you want to email in to be a part of our open commentary, like what just happened, at the near end of each episode, you can do that by emailing in at hardtalkswithbbnh@gmail.com. You can also send topics and content in which you'd like us to cover, or blah blah blah. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Hard Talks with BBNH, and our Twitter at Hard Talks with B1. Go do it. Go follow it.
Follow.
Sarah,
Huh?
tell them not to forget to comment.
Oh, comment, please. I love to read your guys' comments, but we like to know
all of them.
Different things. So this time, since we know what kind of hallucinogens you wanted to try,
Yes. What's your craziest trip?
Yeah.
Or
What have you tripped
intrigues
on?
you about the whole idea? Or if you're not intrigued at all, what scares you about it, and what would you like to learn more about?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. And by no means are we telling you to hey, go do LSD. Because me, I honestly, you guys,
She's like,
I probably won't ever
There's
do
nothing
it.
wrong with that.
Honestly, but I mean, in 5 years
Think of this
from
as like an
now-
extremely rough handbook of
Yes.
do's and do nots.
Yes.
You'll never be in a position where you're ever ignorant about any of the
Yes.
subjects
You
that we
know
talked
your
about.
facts, peeps.
Yeah.
Use
So,
them.
Yeah, all of them. All of them.
But do
5-star
comment.
5-star review us on all Apple Podcasts, as Serena said last time in her Alicia Minnesotian accent.
Did I?
We don't know
We don't know why the
algorithms-
algorithm works the way it does, but it does. I
last
stole
time-
that from Small Town Murder.
Last time we love Small Town Murder. We
Big fans.
stole the idea of our disclosure from a Small Town Murder.
Because it's smart,
It is
especially,
smart.
you know, I can understand how this type of podcast, especially these episodes, aren't meant for everybody, but you don't have to hate. Just don't listen.
I give
Yeah.
that. I give that.
Yeah,
as a
try a
warning.
different one.
You can listen to the beginning, vibe it out, and maybe tune into the next one if that's just not your vibe.
If you don't like it, it's totally fine. You're
And
not hurting our feelings, I
That's
promise.
exactly why we did different topic for every episode, because it could pertain to
And let us know what you
Something
like,
you're interested
and
in.
let us know what you want us to talk about. Maybe that's the only episode you'd listen to, but that is totally fine because we still love you.
Sarah, spin our music wheel.
Oh, I gotta spin.
What is it?
Spin. Oh, that was a
That was
horrible.
horrible. Spin
Spin it
again.
again. How do you spin it? I don't know.
Flick it.
Ow.
There you go. That was a good one.
Shit, that hurt my finger. Dun dun dun. Rock. What is that? Is that rock?
You wanted
Rocky Rock? That's not
Yeah,
rock.
no,
That'd be like
it's a good-
EDM.
It's a good broad range
Oh,
right
so
there.
last time we played Expand the Universe by LS Dream, and this time we're gonna play a little bit of a classic rock throwback.
Ooh.
Because that's just what they represent. Actually, let's flip a coin, because I can't decide.
Where's the coin?
Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd.
Where's the coin?
Grateful Dead and Pink Floyd. I don't have a coin.
We can do my labradite. The flat side is Pink Floyd, and the bumpy side is the
Perfect.
Yeah? Okay, ready?
Wow.
1, 2.
Watch yourself. Watch yourself.
And then we're gonna vibe you out. Until
Hey,
next time, you guys.
We love you.
We love you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you
having
again.
us on, guys.
Thanks for having
Thanks
us on.
for being on.
Thank you guys for listening.
Amazing.
You guys are amazing. Go
I'm
follow
amazing.
Crystal and a werewolf on
Alicia's amazing.
SoundCloud.
The
You're
baddest
amazing.
of bitches.
So I just said, I'm amazing. You're amazing. These two are amazing.
We're all amazing.
I am amazing. This was a long script.
This
I'm
was a long
fucking proud of
script.
you, man.
Okay.
Killing shit.
All that
Killing
said,
it.
guys, we're proud of you too.
Thanks for like keeping on.
Keep on.
Yeah.
Keeping on. And
Spread
if you're
it.
tripping right now,
Good luck.
sure you have a
Have a
Good luck.
Good
Have a
trip.
good-
Travel safely.
Yeah.
Travel safely.
bye.
Bye.
So you think you could tell heaven from hell, blue skies from pain? Can you tell a green field from a cold steel rail, a smile from a veil? Do you think you can tell? Did they get you to trade your heroes for ghosts, hot ashes for trees, hot air for a cool breeze, cold comfort for change? Did you exchange a walk-on part in the war for a lead role in a cage? wish you were here.
Goodbye. I'll talk about them.